Hello, my beautiful humans of Earth. And actually, if there's any extraterrestrials watching, love to you as well. This is episode 2, or issue 2, of Brain Cancer versus Graphic Novel. And if this is your first time watching, what's going on here is I got myself some brain cancer, and it's a nasty form of cancer that grows back really aggressively, and I haven't even started treatments yet. That starts tomorrow, but I'm going to fight it and try to live. But what's going on is it normally takes people out in about a year and a half, if that. And I'm working on a graphic novel, and there's probably at least 3 years of work left on it. So we're in a race, and I want to win it. I expect to win it, and I appreciate you guys watching, and any comments you have or support or whatever is amazing for me. An important thing, and I'll say this in every video, I'm not an expert in any of this stuff I'm going through. So the best I could do is kind of share my story and maybe share some links to resources if I hope you don't know anybody who's going through this, but I'll do what I can to help. But again, this is not an educational source. It's not a promise of anything palliative or... Okay, so last episode I discussed kind of what I'm up to, and my character's Leopold Brink, and I want to do two fun things in this video, which is, like I mentioned last time, tell you what Leopold Brink 4 is, because the current graphic novel is pretty much Leopold Brink number 5. And then I'm also going to talk about where Leopold Brink came from. Who are these characters? What's going on there? Like, how did I come up with this? What is it? Okay, so Leopold Brink 4. In June of 1997, Leopold Brink number 1 came out. That's the comic that's on the first thumbnail of this series. This thumbnail is the second issue, and then I got a third issue out before I just blew it and never put another one out. But I did write 50 issues, and I even actually advertised in Diamond's catalog issue number 4, and here is the sketch. I think it was just straight up this that got solicited. I had to tell them I can't afford to do it. I'm sorry, and that was it for that. But Leopold Brink 4 was picked up right where 3 left off, which was... Oh, should I spoil this? I'm hoping Leopold Brink 4 still exists, but what it is, and it took me until 2011 from 1997 to get this done. It was ridiculous. But it's this. It's a goddamn entire novel, because I thought, well, if I failed at the comic, maybe I'll try the Harry Potter route, make a new adult or young adult novel series of Leopold Brink and try to popularize it like that. And it came out pretty good. I actually dropped the ball with that too, because I have no literary connections still, but I didn't even submit it anywhere. And it's I've rewritten the thing many times. The story got richer and richer, and it's cool. But I'm not going to draw that thing. And I would ideally love to put out Leopold Brink 4 as the novel, and then Leopold Brink 5 as this graphic novel, and they work together. And then I do have a ambitious idea for, I guess I'd call it Leopold Brink 6, but it's kind of the future of what it is. I mean, the dream is movies and this other thing I'm talking about, which is a TV show. And oh my God, casting Brink. Brink is the greatest thing in my life. It's just my greatest creation, but also like she's been alive in my mind, in my world for 30 plus years. I love her so much. So I would just absolutely, oh my God, love to cast her and see her on the big screen. I mean, I started out my life trying to be a filmmaker, so like, it's just, oh my God. Okay, so I'm not going to really discuss the plot of Leopold Brink 4, but well, I don't recommend you spending money on Leopold Brink comics. They're on eBay occasionally, and they're cheap, but like, it's not that good. Leopold Brink has become much, much better over time. Okay, so where they came from. In 1987, I was in 11th grade. I think this is when I had this class. Whatever. I was in trigonometry, and I got an F. I got an F in this class. The main reason probably was because I was fucking drawing all the time, not paying attention at all. Oh, and in fact, on math, I used to be one of the smart kids in school, and I remember, one of us really enjoying math and really getting really good at it. And I can remember thinking, oh no, if I don't stay on top of competing with this dude, or just in tandem with his powers, I'm gonna lose it. I don't mean go crazy. I mean like lose my skills. And I did. Like if you don't get math down, you're effed. I mean, I got deeper and deeper into liberal arts and then philosophy and blah blah blah. And the funny thing about my interest in philosophy is Plato, who I'm sure you've heard of, had a academy, a school that he brought all the students into. And there's this infamous plaque above the entrance that essentially says, "Fuck off if you don't know geometry." And I did get a good grade in geometry, but I would never have been accepted to that school, which sucks because, I wanted to be a serious philosopher. So why did I bring that? Oh, right, because in that class, I drew this. And it pretty much is the first drawing of Leopold. Now, I think well, here, I'll show a few things because the theme is kind of obvious. I was feeling really disconnected from my body, feeling kind of repressed by my conservative family, and the themes of us fucking up the environment were already very solidly in my life. So, that design. What's funny about this design is this is before Iron Maiden's character Eddie. If you know what that is, you'll know like, oh, that's cool. You were first. But I don't remember where I got the design idea for this, but I'm looking at a cheat sheet of the images I'm going to show. Sorry if I'm not paying attention to the camera. Okay, so that's the first iteration of Leopold, pretty much. And then then I blast to Los Angeles right out of high school in 1988. And, I thought like day 2, I was going to get a job directing my eco-epic movies and be a success doing that. It's really not how it works, it turns out. So like as I'm struggling, I thought, well, maybe I should do some animation. I actually called Cal Arts, thinking about going there and stuff. And I developed these characters, which is kind of based on that Leopold look. By the way, he wasn't called Leopold. I had no idea what was going on there. I'm going to cut, because the sound is now fucked. Hey, sorry for that sound edit cut. Okay, what the fuck was I talking about? 1987 Leopold. Oh, right. So, animation with these characters. And, I actually was drawing cells every day, as much as I could. The plot was super contrived, just like slave robots finding organic matter underneath the circuitry they work on, and like realizing that there was an earth full of lush, whatever. It's trite. But I dug the characters, and they kind of helped continue to form the Leopold Brink story. And that was like 88. Okay, so then it wasn't until, God, that's crazy, 1995 that I did this comic. And it pretty much, well, wait a minute. Oh yeah, it pretty much robs those robot-y people look and combines it with my Leopold concept to showcase the actual first drawing of Leopold, because one of the stories in this mini comic is called Pathetic Taxonomy, because I've always been extremely pretentious. And it's a prototype. It's essentially the Leopold Brink 1, like the first several pages of Leopold Brink #1. The crazy thing is, Brink in that is a monkey, and she's definitely not now, and shouldn't have been then, a monkey. Meaning, I don't even know if she was female in this, but she had a tail, so like, definitely not the same character. But the beginnings of the concept of essentially robot and primate partnership. So I guess I shared this mini with at I think SPX or San Diego Con, and I got some lovely feedback, especially from my precious friend Jason Lutz, who was like, I don't even think he'd started Berlin yet, but anyway, that was really the first encouragement I ever got as a cartoonist. So I didn't touch that much I guess I worked on Brink a little bit and the story, but let me see. Doop. Yeah, so then all right, how weird. So then I got a job at an animation studio and / game studio / game studio, like two game companies and an animation studio, Wild Brain, Post Linear Entertainment, and Thinkfish. And they shared this cool loft space in a San Francisco building in the Mission. And I really only had this mini comic to show off. And all the animators dug it. They dug my super creepy Pinocchio drawing from inside it. And they dug my name, like, oh, you have the perfect name for a cartoonist. Anyway, Phil Robinson, who's the director, the main guy at Wild Brain, I guess interviewed me to see if I could possibly fit in anywhere. And he was like, your art sucks. Your portfolio kind of sucks. And I'm like, oh, God, you're right. I mean, I've not worked hard at this for a long time. But he saw like, no, you've got, skills and you're clearly a writer. So like, why don't you take a in-betweening test and see if we can hook you up. And so I did that, and it sucked. I sucked it out. I was doing those cells, but I wasn't, I'm not an animator. That's so hard. I mean, props to animators. So I actually didn't end up with Wild Brain at that point, but I did get a gig with Post Linear. Is it Post Linear? Yeah. So they were one of the several American gaming companies that got accepted to do a port of Final Fantasy VI for Squaresoft. And I became like the creative lead on that, which is so fun. I've never really been a game. I mean, I played a lot of video games, like stand-up, like Asteroids was my thing. But I've never really been a console gamer at that point, so I didn't really care about the game. But working on that was just super fun. Hundreds of hours of gameplay and research, and the art is just, anyway, that was super fun. But it kind of embedded me in that creative space, and then I worked on Stargate with Dave Arneson, who's one of the creators of D&D in that space, and that was also cool. I got to do a lot of art for that. I don't think that game ever actually happened. And I did this totally piece of crap game with Post Linear as well. I don't even know if that came out, called Flying Saucer. But then I hooked up with the guys at Thinkfish, and they were working on this incredible 3D engine that lets you kind of render art styles on top of models. And they sold it at some point. I think it was called Live Style. I don't know what it's called, but it was brilliant. And we worked on this gorgeous game concept where we would adapt how do you pronounce that? Ukiyo-e, woodblock carving Japanese art. And I had to do all this cool mythological research and these fun drawings of all those cool monsters. And but I did a lot of writing for that one. So I think Wild Brain started thinking of me as a writer a lot. And one day whatever. I think this had already been in the works, but they were given the job of animating Fern Gully 2. And I got invited into, So Richard Tulloch was hired to write Fern Gully 2. He's an Australian children's writer. Talented guy, but he just couldn't get it right. And Fox Pictures told Wild Brain, if he's on a third draft, if this one isn't good, we want to see if you guys can take a shot at it. And so Phil invited me. Tulloch didn't do a third draft that was good enough, so he invited. So Wild Brain invited me into story meetings. We would all kind of work on fixing his script. And I'm like, Phil, I'm just gonna rewrite this thing for you. And so I did that night, and we submitted it to Fox. He thought it was all right, you know, the film sucks. It's Ferngully too, but they submitted it to Fox, and Fox was like, "You did it. I don't know what you did, but you got it. Green light." So I was super proud of that. Not the, you know, not really the script, but it's just like having that response. So you know, I wrote Ferngully too, but you know, Tulloch was missing like the environmental theme. He was missing a good ending. There was a bunch of it was a lot of, it was a mess, but it was fun fixing that. In fact, and so like, you know, career wise, I was so dumb to not like make sure Fox knew I was the guy who did that. I mean, it was Wild Brain's first feature, so they were, you know, very invested in taking the credit. So I could, you know, would probably be stepping on toes. But big career F up. If you do something good, you impress somebody, or even if you're liked by a production company or whatever, get in their face. Make sure they know who you are, what you did, because, you know, weirdly, talent is rare and it's cherished and it's worth dough. And, you know, make sure you're always in the loop. My little piece of artist advice for the day. Okay, so the point of that story is, after that success for Wild Brain, they said, "Hey, everybody, you know, the animators, artists, everybody who were in the building in Wild Brain, we're going to start developing original content. So if any of you have stuff, pitch it to us." And they took forever to kind of like get that going. They said I can do the first pitch. And then I had the fire under me. I'm like, oh shit, really the only thing I got is Leopold Brink, and I really haven't developed it much, certainly not as an animation. So I started working hard on making like a cartoon version of Leopold Brink. And at that point, I hadn't even thought of doing a proper comic book version of it. So because they kind of were dropping the ball on getting original content developed, I don't even know if they ever did. I hung around for like a year and a half or two there, but, you know, they lasted for a little bit longer. And, you know, in that time, they never, as far as I know, they certainly didn't do Leopold Brink, but they didn't do any original content, I think. Anyway, then my mind was like, fuck it, I'm doing oh, right, because I was working elsewhere at that point for an educational software company. I'm like, I'm just going to do Leopold Brink as a comic. Man, this is my thing. Let's do this. And so I kind of like copied my pages from Fit a Peak and finished out that story and sent it to Diamond as like a, you know, readable draft, kind of what I'm going to have for Leopold Brink 5. And they're like, looks good to us, man. Let's sell this. And they actually did like a spotlight thing for me, which is cool. It's like, I don't think Diamond is the main distributor anymore for comics, but like in the day, being in their catalog was the thing, and any kind of extra attention was like super gold. The funny thing is, in that catalog, they also compared my comic to, I think, Cave Woman, which I still haven't read. But I'm like, how dare you? My comic is a is a goddamn dissertation. And you know, I didn't say that, but it was just such a weird, you know, my sales were, I think I sold like 3,000 copies, which is it's just awful. But it did get around some places. You know, it's cool. It's cool to have a comic out there. Anyway, that's probably all the ones that show up on eBay are part of this batch. Okay, so at this point I've got a lock on the first version of what Leopold Brink looked like. And looking at my cheat sheet again, they don't change much until I kind of reinvent them for the novel, in which Brink gets much less matronly, and I actually put skin on top of Leopold in his current iteration. So he kind of can, it's not like a chameleon, or a shape changer, but he, you know, he wears like whatever he wants to look like. His story's cool. I can't wait for you. I mean, it's told really well in the novel. It won't be in Leopold Brink 5 at all. But he's a cool character. I like it. I guess I'll tell you a little bit about who the characters are. Brink's mother is a Jewish Greek neuroscientist / geneticist. Super genius, very unconventional, and her thing is that she wanted to prove that consciousness was a biological phenomenon, and she thought the only way she could do that was to present a non-human primate who displays consciousness. I don't know, I'm not even sure why I think that makes any sense, but she modified the gamete or the, whatever, the, the, the thing she created by wedding her egg to a bonobo's sperm. And actually, when I wrote this originally, I was desperate to have Kanzi, who's a quite famous bonobo. Look him up, Kanzi. Incredible creature on Earth. Incredible. Anyway, I just wanted Brink's dad to be Kanzi so bad. I got in touch with them, and they're like, "You're insane. Don't write us again." Totally understandable. But, in non-canon, Kanzi's Brink's dad, and if they go for it one day for whatever reason, let's say this works out, gets successful. Anyway, Brink's dad is a bonobo, and a bonobo is a kind of cousin to the chimpanzee, extremely culturally different animal. You probably have heard of both of these things, but Catherine, Brink's mom, gives birth to Brink, and Brink grows up. Leopold Brink is a little similar to Mr. Peabody and Sherman. It's like a way too serious version of Mr. Peabody and Sherman. And I may have even overtly stole that, but oh my God, Jay Ward, please don't sue me. But I just mean that the idea of a super genius and her assistant. In Leopold Brink's case, Leopold is Brink's child. This is so complex. But so Brink grows up a super genius. When she's about 15, she'd already lost her mother. Her stepmom, she had a real difficult relationship with. So she was ready to just hit the road. And she's like, the world's only transgenic hominid and also super genius. So she writes public intellectuals and scholars all over the world, "Hey, I'll trade you, whatever research you want to do on me for learning from you." And so she goes on this cool worldwide tour to, expand her education. She'd already surpassed her mother in brain science, and she invented this thing called the I. Oh, here's a hilarious thing. In the first issue of Leopold Brink, Brink's machine, and that's another convoluted thing I'll describe next time. It's called the iMac, like it's printed in my comic IMAC. At least a couple years before Apple put this out. Not that I have ever wanted to claim that as my own or whatever. I, in fact, was just assuming that thing would exist. But it's pretty cool, I think. Okay, so let's get to the fun part of the video where I show some, what's it called? Time-lapse of some art. And the cool part of it this time is I'm going to show you. Last video I mentioned where I was working, what I was onto, the Jack Kirby page. I'm going to show you that. Please keep in mind that it's a very rough sketch that will then get fancy pantsed in digitally on my iPad. And then the next page has, I think I mentioned this last time, a notation of insert this drawing I did in the past. And I'll actually, I'll show you these pages and I'll insert that art so you can see what's going to go there in the final version. Okay, I love you all. Thank you for hanging out with me again. Sorry the video went longer this time. Let's check out some art, and I'll see you next time. Okay, here's both pages. I hope the focus is good. I can't even see the phone. I'm going to go in. Well, yeah, that page is obvious. It's the Jack Kirby-ish thing. But here's the, oh, for fuck's sake. Here's that. And let's just animate that into place. Okay, and then here's this. Oh man, this is tiring. You can tell that my cinematography skills are extremely lacking. Okay, hopefully you like that and some of the other art shown, and I cannot wait to talk to you guys again. Later.